amazing thing to witness, so thank you for that. My name is Elissa McBride. I'm the Secretary-Treasurer of AFSCME, and I just want to say that I'm honored to serve on your National Executive Board with Dan Homan and Christopher Mabe, and honored to serve as your Secretary-Treasurer, which I was elected to this role in March, and I am pledged to serve with accountability and integrity and with passion. I've been in the labor movement for 27 years as a member of the UAW District 65, as an organizer for a factory workers union called the Clothing and Textile Workers Union, and since 2001 I've been with AFSCME. But in March, I ran for your Secretary-Treasurer position because our former Secretary-Treasurer, Laura Reyes, who many of you know, resigned from the position to return to her home local and her home state of California. And she's working as an organizer with the home care workers local that she's been part of for these many years. So she's with us in the union and in a different role, and I am with you in this role and pledge to get to know all of you in it, connect with those of you I know, and reconnect with those of you I know and connect with those of you I don't. I've been able to move around the country since I got elected, working with panels like this one to tell the stories of what AFSCME leaders are doing every day to build stronger unions. And that's what I'm here to do today. It's a role I really love, to shine a light on the everyday heroes that make AFSCME locals and chapters and OCSEA workplaces run. And that takes a lot of hard work, and the people up here are going to tell you about it. We're going to share stories of organizing, stories of solidarity, and I want to start by just pointing out that it's the end of the summer, and as usual, we've had a whole rush of superhero movies over the summer. How many folks have seen at least one superhero movie this summer? Wonder Woman, Batman, something along those lines. So I have a theory that these superhero movies are coming at us because we really are in a moment where we're looking for a rescue. We've got a legion of doom facing us, and you've heard about it throughout the day. And if you were not here when we heard about the Janus case, we got a legion of doom facing us in the states, not only in Iowa and Missouri, but coming soon to Ohio, because the Janus case will affect every public sector worker in this country. And within a year, we are likely to be right to work coast to coast in the public sector. So that's what we're up against. And given that, we need a Justice League. And I'm here to introduce you to 3 members of AFSCME's Justice League, OCSEA's Justice League. And so we're going to hear from each of them about what they're doing to make their chapters into strong member outreach, never quit machines. You're going to be hearing from each of them on a number of questions, and we'll mix it up in terms of the order. But just so you know who they are, starting from my left, you're going to be hearing from Amy Ray. She's the president of Chapter 2200 at the Ohio Veterans Home in Sandusky. From Monica White, she is a steward and executive board member of Chapter 2535 at the Bureau of Workers' Compensation in Columbus. She's looking for her people. And from Scott Dye, who is the president of Chapter 8010, Department of Corrections in Marysville. And so let's get started. I'd like each of you to just say your name again so people can put the name and the face together, and give us a couple basic facts about your chapter. How many folks you represent, what kind of work they do in the public service. And why don't we start with you, Amy?
My name is Amy Ray. I'm the president of the Ohio Veterans Home, Chapter 2200 in Sandusky. Our chapter fluctuates anywhere. We were up to about 536 members, then we dropped down below the 500 mark. We're ranging right around 500 now. So that shows you one of the issues that we're dealing with are staffing. It's a hard time trying to keep staff there, and management right now is being so punitive that rather than trying to retain and hire, they're just doing stupid things to get rid of them and not replace them. So.
Okay. Monica, tell us a little bit about your chapter.
Sure. My name is Monica White. My chapter is BWC 2535 in Columbus. We're the second largest chapter, yay, in OCSEA. We have about 600 plus active members in our chapter right now.
I'm Scott Dye. I'm from Chapter 8010, Marysville, Ohio, Ohio Reformatory for Women. We have about 300 members, plus or minus. Same thing, staffing levels, just like everybody else here. They're fluctuating. We're working very hard to get our numbers up to get rid of mandation and overtime, that kind of stuff, because it's killing our members. So that's about it for our chapter.
So Scott, why don't you hang on to the mic and we'll start with you on this one. So from talking to all three of you beforehand, I know that you've each got a really effective system for new employee orientation. And so I'd like you to each tell us, what's the single most effective part of your NEO system? What's the one thing you do that you think really makes a difference in terms of orienting new hires into the union?
Well, we do a one-on-one with the new hires. As they come in, we get a set time. We go in, we talk to the new hires. We tell them everything about the union, about OCSEA, what we offer as a chapter. We give them the benefits, the free education. The one thing that I focus on when I do orientation is the hostage insurance. That's something a lot of us probably don't talk about. Mansfield chapter just went through that a couple years ago. They had a hostage situation. And I want to bring it up that OCSEA stepped up and helped that young lady with that hostage insurance. And I think that's very important that we tell our new members that one little thing among the millions of others, the free education, everything else. But that one-on-one, that way they see our face, they can talk to us and answer any questions. All right?
Okay, Monica, tell us the one most effective thing you do in your NEO system.
Wow, I like to talk a lot, so I usually talk about 20 or 30 minutes to our new members. I try to give a high-level overview of the benefits that were negotiated by the union and not management, and let them know those things such as dental and vision, tuition reimbursement, their salary, the people. We also talk about sick leave, vacation, personal things that, once again, were negotiated by your union and not your management. I also talk to them about their contract. Treat it as a second Bible and read it at your leisure. It's very important that they arm themselves with that book and know your contract in and out.
And what do you tell them about where that contract came from, how you got it? Was it something management just handed over out of the goodness of their hearts?
Absolutely not. Once again, it was negotiated by your union.
Fought for and met over the many years. So Amy, tell us about your most effective NEO strategy.
I don't know if there's necessarily one specific thing. I noticed in the contract after I took office that we get a full hour for new employee orientation. So I thought to myself, I'm going to take that full hour and I'm going to give them every bit of information from the very beginning as I possibly can. We've got a lot of people who have been there for a while, and as I try to reach them, obviously that takes a little bit more time because I have to go to each of them. But when I've got new people coming to me, my thought was, if I get them from day one, they'll get it from here on out. So I talked to them a lot about the history of what we struggled with to become the union. I talked to them about, I was at a union conference and we watched the movie At the River I Stand. And that just had such an impact on me. One of the questions I asked them, do you know who Martin Luther King is? And of course everybody knows who he is. And the next question is, do you know what he was doing when he was assassinated? And nobody understands that. And so I explained to them that it was our AFSCME union. It was the only union that stepped up for these sanitation workers in Tennessee. The working conditions were dangerous. They were getting crushed and killed in the garbage compactors. And he taught them how to go on peaceful demonstrations and go on strike and fight for what they want. And I talked to them about the history and what we've gone through. I talked to them about the coal miners. And then I go into what the benefits of the union are, of the discounts that we get, and the education money, and the rights that we get. Explain to them their wine garden rights. And generally, by the time, halfway through, I don't even have to ask them to fill out their card. They're already pulling it out and putting their name down on it because I'm explaining to them why this is important, I tell them that the union, the biggest thing that we're looking for, and I talk about Senate Bill 5 and right to work, but that the union's principle is that if you're willing to go to work and work full time, you should be able to support your family in a modest way of life without requiring public assistance. And that also resonates with me, and I think it resonates with them. And so it just seems so easy. You know, it's an easy conversation that I have with them, and in the end, they're like, wow, I never knew all that. So
Let me just ask a quick follow-up question for any of you. I'm thinking about this because we just heard about Iowa. We heard earlier today from President Saunders about the Janus case heading to the Supreme Court. Do any of you warn folks at NEO about what may be changing and the fact that right to work is potentially coming to Ohio? Even if you all were to do a citizen's veto again, the Supreme Court would overrule that process. So how are you inoculating people about that future?
Well, absolutely. It is one of the things that I talk about because a lot of the new hires are coming off of the street that has been in private service, that has not been in public service, so they don't know what to expect. They don't know that our jobs are basically political, and a lot of legislation, whether it's state, city, local, federal, affects our jobs. So it's definitely something that I talk about.
The one thing I ask them is, have you ever been a union member? And a couple of them will raise their hands. And I always emphasize how important the union is. I don't tell them that right to work is coming down the pike. They're new hires. It's overwhelming, the information that they're getting. You know this. So I don't want to just blow their head off with this information. I will talk to them later, explain stuff. I'll talk to them as they come in and do their OJT in my dorm, and that's when I talk to them. And one thing I do want to add, our chapter has zero fair share. Yes. Yes. I will always take that union card. I will not let them not sign that union card. I will convince them one way or the other. All right?
Okay. So not too long ago, I was at an AFSCME gathering where we heard from an Australian trade unionist who's been through some of these fights in that country, because this is not just one nation's rollback of labor rights. It's happening all over the world. And he said there are two golden moments in the life of a union person in terms of signing folks up. And the first golden moment is new employee orientation, which we just heard about. And the other golden moment is contract time, because everybody's tuned in. So I'd like to ask each of you to say a little bit about how contract time is giving you an opportunity to engage folks in the union in some other way. What are you doing at this moment with the state contract coming up to get more members engaged in your chapter?
like my brother sitting over here, our chapter also has been running at 100% membership for nearly 3 years now. But we're a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week facility. I'm a midnight person myself, and I took this office because I wanted to show that midnight people can do this too. And so I keep that in mind, that it's not just day shift who runs the facility and who needs to have the information. So when I have union meetings, I try to hold 3 separate meetings to accommodate all the different shifts. And with the contract negotiations coming on, I remember back before I started getting active, how I knew a little bit about the union, but not a lot. So I remember what my level of understanding is, and I talk to them, and if there's a big word that I use like OCB, I make sure that I explain to them what that means. A lot of people are too afraid to ask questions. They think that they're supposed to know the answers. And so I just try to take it down to what an average person would understand and talk to them and, you know, find out what they're looking for and keep them up to date on what we're trying to fight for.
All right. Monica, tell us what you do to keep your chapter strong or make your chapter stronger.
Well, it's all about educating our members to become active, come to the monthly meetings. Our chapter, BWC 25, has its own website. So for those members that are on disability and that's not able to come to the monthly meetings, they're able to go to our SharePoint website and access information from there. We have community bulletin boards on every floor at BWC as well. We have ice cream socials, we have membership drives, we have a employee appreciation. So we just try to get the members involved. One of the things that I like to tell the new hires during new employee orientation is the first letter in union is you. And it's about you.
And so tell us a little more about how that website brings the union meetings to the members if they can't get to the union meetings.
Sure. So we just want to use this tool as another avenue just in case people aren't able to come down during their lunch hour, to be able to access it during their time at home on their own rather than at work if they don't want to. We're also available basically 24/7. We have some people that don't feel comfortable with talking to us during work time, so we give them our phone numbers and let them be able to contact us after hours because they don't feel comfortable discussing union business in front of management or at work. So we just try to make ourselves available and really tell them to get involved from day one. I don't know about anybody else, but I got 5 more years to go and deuces, I'm out. So we try to get the new hires to come in and learn the ropes and get this stuff down and basically pass the torch on.
Leave it better than you found it.
Right.
Okay, Scott, tell us something you do to strengthen your chapter around contract time or something you're doing now.
The biggest thing is the phone banking. That has initiated the talk between the member and me and my other union members, my stewards, my e-board, those people. People are curious about this phone bank. I know we're going to talk about it here in a second, some more, but that initiates the conversation so that we go into the dialogue and we start talking about it. They start telling me what they want in this contract because they know I'm on the contract negotiation team now. So I'm getting hit with a lot of ideas, good ideas, that I can take back to the contract negotiation team. That's about the only thing we're doing right now is with this phone bank that really is sparking the interest.
It's a great way to open a conversation. How many folks were at a phone bank sometime this year for OCSEA? At Deer Creek, for example. I was there, so I saw it firsthand how amazing it was to be able to call people and ask them something that mattered so much. Do you know that your contract's coming up, and what do you want to see either preserved or changed? What a great opportunity to connect with people one-on-one. And I just have to say that you all are really setting the bar high in terms of using technology to build your union. I think that you may not be able to, your own leaders may not be able to brag about it so much, but I see it from afar with OCSEA. For years, you all have been on the cutting edge of using websites, using technology around the phone bank, and now I think you might be the first to do a paperless convention within our union. So congratulations on that. Our goal at AFSCME is going to just be to have a less paper-full convention because we are way far away from paperless. But you know, you're using technology with the phone banks and everything else that you do to do it better, which is great. So let me just ask one more question and then we'll bring it in for a landing. I wonder if each of you could talk a little bit about what keeps you going, because we've already heard how tough times are. They're tough at the national level with the threats that we're facing through the Supreme Court. They're tough at the state level with cuts to public services. And they're tough in your facilities, right, where you've got staffing shortages and frustrated folks. But each of you are still at it after many years. So tell us what gives you hope and what keeps you going when the going gets tough. And actually, why don't we start with Monica this time, just to kind of change it up.
Well, definitely it's my faith in God that keeps me going, and knowing the strength of my union brothers and sisters as well. And an example I would use of that is when we went through Senate Bill 5, we did not only have OCSEA AFSCME folks, we had the firefighters, we had teachers, we had carpenters, we had other unions from out of state, come to Ohio, to Columbus, and rally and walked with us. So it's just the unity that gives me the strength, along with my faith in God, that it's all going to work out. It's all going to work out.
So Amy, tell us what gives you hope, and tell us a little bit about the fight you're having right now up in Sandusky, because I know you're in the middle of one.
A big one. This position has given me such amazing highs when we are able to finally get something that we've been fighting for negotiated and ends up on our side, but it also has some really low lows. When I'm in the low, I try to look around, watching TV, different things are on TV, coming to conventions or different conferences and listening to the people talk. The speaker yesterday at the WAC conference just kind of made me feel like, you know what, I got this. When on the days that I don't, when I just don't feel like I can go another minute, I say to myself, just give it another day, think about it, and if I still don't know the next day, then give it another day and think about it until I finally get out of it. And something that was mentioned was how Martin Luther King kept fighting. And when they thought they had him down, he'd come right back up again. And they'd look at him like, wait a minute, we thought we won. And this last month, I've been in that boat. And I think I'm back up again. The fight that we're having right now is our management has been coming hard and heavy after our Appendix N work areas. They did quite a bit, I shouldn't say quite a bit if you talk about paint and new floors, renovations at our facility, and now they want to completely rewrite Appendix N and take away so many of our rights. We've been negotiating this for about a year now, and we haven't budged. We're not letting them take our Appendix N. We're not letting them take our rights. And so now they've started coming after me personally. When things started getting rough, I went before our chapter and I said, I don't know if I'm the problem here. I don't know if, I want to do what's best for the chapter. If me stepping down is going to be better for the chapter, tell me and I'll step down, because my goal is to do whatever's right, whatever's best for us. And I got an absolute resounding, you are not going anywhere from my chapter. So we talked to them about doing an informational picket, and we got a resounding, what can we do to help you? Can we invite some veterans groups? Can we go talk to some biker groups who are veterans? What can we do to have your back and support you? OCSEA was the same way. We've had people that have been planning on coming to Sandusky and doing this informational picket. And apparently it got management's attention because they want to talk to us come Monday and find out what our problems are.
All right.
So, right? That's the purpose and goal of doing a picket. So to let everyone know, if you don't already know, as of now, the informational picket is going to be postponed. We are going to sit down and have the conversation with management, but don't get me wrong, if management doesn't hear us this time and they don't give us what we need, we will rise up and we will be heard. And we will reschedule the picket for soon thereafter.
Probably be bigger than ever. Scott, tell us what keeps you going.
Well, my story's a little different. I started out at North Central Correctional, and our great governor privatized it. So I was mad, like anybody else in this room would be. I've lost my job, I'm comfortable, the institution, all my friends, the trust, everything. Now I gotta uproot and move to another institution. So I'm mad. So I took it out on the union. I shouldn't have. So I turned that being pissed off around and I said, you know what? I'm gonna be involved in the union even harder now. That's why I ran for the state board. I got back into being a president, more active as a steward. That's what keeps me motivated. Every time I think about it, I think about that, governor privatizing our prison and me losing my job where I was comfortable. I love ORW, don't get me wrong. I've got a lot of great people there, a lot of great union staff, but I was comfortable at North Central. And that's what keeps me motivated.
Scott, why don't you hold on to the mic? I want to ask each of these folks to just say a closing word for this panel. And what I'm thinking about is that everyone in this hall and everyone in this state is building the union in tough times, but so are your brothers and sisters across the country in every other AFSCME state and every other public sector workplace. So let me ask you to each close by offering a piece of advice. What would you say to another AFSCME leader in another state about never quitting and member outreach and AFSCME Strong, if you could? What's your one piece of advice to your sisters and brothers in our union?
Don't lose faith. I mean, I think that's the only thing I can think of right off the rip. Just keep plugging away. I mean, it's got to turn around sometime in our favor. It's got to. The Republican Party's got to go away sometime.
I would say stand your ground, for lack of better words. Stand your ground, unite, and one of my favorite Bible verses is, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper."
I say united we stand, divided we fall.
They want to escape.
No, you started it.
So I just want to say that, like all of you and your sisters and brothers across the country, AFSCME leaders who do this work day in and day out, not only in service of the public, but in service of your coworkers, are the superheroes we've been waiting for. We can't be rescued by somebody from afar. We're going to have to rescue ourselves. And these three folks are rescuing themselves and their coworkers and the citizens of Ohio every day. And so I just want to salute you and what you do, and salute all of you and what you do for your communities and for your union and for your country. And I'll just close by saying that we at AFSCME nationally are trying to lift up all the public services that AFSCME members and OCSEA members provide through a new technology, which is Facebook groups. There are 16 different Facebook groups for the different professional sectors within our union. And if you haven't found those yet, I really encourage you to look on our website and find your people inside our union. If you're a corrections officer, you can join the corrections officers Facebook group, and similarly for every other professional sector within our union. And I've also got a Facebook page where I'm reporting on my travels to different parts of the country and work to lift up the organizing that AFSCME leaders are doing. And I'm called AFSCME Elissa on that Facebook page, so you can find me there. And I just want to close by bringing up Wisconsin one more time. As Dan Homan said, we all learned a lot by fighting with Wisconsin during their incredible battle to struggle against having public sector collective bargaining taken away from them. And I was with them a few months ago, and I met with their executive board. And they said to me, please tell the people in other AFSCME affiliates across the country, don't waste the time you have. We didn't see it coming, what happened to us in Wisconsin. But we know that Janice is coming. We know that we have an anti-worker Supreme Court. We know they are poised to take a case that's about denying strong public sector collective bargaining units the right to have everybody pay their fair share. We know it's going to happen. So they said, don't waste the time you have to build a stronger workplace, a stronger chapter, a stronger local, a stronger union, so that when the time comes, it doesn't matter what they try to do to you, that the union will fight on and the union will live on. So that's what I want to share with you from your brothers and sisters in Wisconsin. Thank you.
Could we give Secretary Treasurer Elissa McBride and our panelists another round of applause?